we have Lacey Cook. Lorin.
Hi, y'all. I'd like to thank you in advance for the fact that I'm just going to read a lot of this after the past few days. Having a 9-year-old brain is shot. So, hi. My name's Lorin Vincent Haynes, and tonight I want to tell you the story of how I jokingly became what I refer to as a Planned Parenthood poster child. I don't mean the grotesque posters that you see when the protesters are out in their rabidness on Poplar, but rather the one that says, I was supposedly the smart girl, the good one, put me on a poster. I was raised by a mother who was fiercely pro-sex education, pro-contraception, pro-choice, without question. As young children, but our questions, my brother asked most of them, but they always just answered in a very matter-of-fact way, like it was no big deal. I remember our parents, my dad, I remember seeing him nude walking to the shower. No big, there was no stigma around it, although it didn't necessarily mean that it was wide open. She was the person whom all of my friends went to go see to get on the pill, to get that, because if I remember correctly, in the 90s, to get the pill, you had to have some adult signature or some crap. I was educated all about this by her before I ever had sex. She told me a lot of stories of her own reproductive path, horrifying, heartbreaking things that she witnessed or experienced. She had her rights restricted her entire life. In fact, she could not even get a credit card until the year I was born legally. So she saw other women intentionally trapped in abusive relationships by husbands who would refuse to give permission for them to get their tubes tied. Heard a woman screaming bloody murder the morning she went to get her tubes tied. She taught me that controlling my body prevents me from being controlled by anybody. She taught me to educate myself and use my voice for human rights, and especially reproductive rights. So imagine my abject horror when the very first time I ever had sex, I got pregnant. Smart girl, right? What? Really? All of my friends that had sex already, this 26-year-old dude was into me, and I thought he was hot. No one in school was asking me out. I didn't like most of them anyway, so why not? I knew it wouldn't be a relationship. He was leaving to go back to his city the very next day, so I know it happened that night. It wasn't like, I certainly wasn't aware of the power dynamics that in 1990 that we're aware of now, where a 26-year-old is grooming a 17-year-old. It was just kind of like, I want to get this over with thing. I was tired of being the only one who had not had sex yet. We had fun. He was pretty gentle and thoughtful, at least I would think, besides who I may have done it with if they were my age, because everybody's an idiot at first, right? So we did use a condom once, but we didn't just have sex once, and I'm sure I had a couple of drinks, and nobody knew about Plan B in 1990. I went and took the ACT the next morning. So smart, great timing. I then went to Planned Parenthood the following Monday and got my pills. I was ready. I looked forward to not having this virginity crap over my head. I was feeling like a strong, independent, sexually active young woman. 2 weeks later, I couldn't take my pills because there were 2 little lines, Oh, shit. Like my mom would say, shit, damn, fuck, piss, hell, I distinctly remember pouring myself a fuzzy navel, a very stiff one. I'll laugh at that now because what? And how did I not puke? Because of the sugar and all the hormones. I knew immediately that I would not have that baby. There was no question, no deliberation process at all. I knew that I was going to have an abortion. I called the guy and I let him know, my decision. He was in the Army. He offered to re-enlist for another year, marry me, support me? And I said, no. He showed up and took me for the procedure with my friends. Well, I didn't know he was going to show up, and I look back on that and I'm like, that's a little weird. But that happened in Mississippi. I didn't handle it. My best friend's older, thank God for her to handle it because I was just reeling. So she arranged everything. I had not told my mom anything. She was a single mother. She knew something was up and asked, and I just told her that I'd had sex for the first time. I didn't tell her that I was getting an abortion. She had no money. I was running interference with bill collectors myself. She had struggled with bipolar her whole life. We didn't even know at the time, but I knew that I did not want to burden her with it. And I think I was a little bit ashamed because here she was like this righteous, did all the things right. And then her very smart daughter went and got knocked up, I was ashamed that I had fucked up. I remember deciding to only get a local anesthesia instead of a general because I didn't want to seem fucked up when I saw my mom. I remember lying in the back seat on the way home from Mississippi and Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb coming on. And I will forever be put back into that moment when I hear that song. Later, we sat by the pool because that's what we did during the summer. Ah, the glory days. But I couldn't swim, of course. I just sat by the pool. Eventually, I told my mom later, a few years later, and she totally understood. And I went on to go do all the things I had planned. I was going to go to a summer session at Andover Phillips Academy and then have my senior year and go to college. So hell no, I was not going to have this baby, Over time, so I did all that. And I went on to do all kinds of things, including having a miscarriage, another abortion, and now 2 sons. Married, happy family. Over time, I was eventually raped and sexually assaulted on more than one occasion. And I could have easily needed these services for STDs, for abortion, or reporting, support to do that. Not once have I regretted that decision. I tell people about it all the time. I don't regret any of them, though I do, and this is where current events come in, question bringing my sons into a world where they are target practice. Had I known we would be here today, I may not have made the same decisions in the effort to prevent their suffering, but I have 0 regrets. And of course, it never was that I wasn't being smart. Never. Assuming that those that get pregnant are stupid or dumb is cultural conditioning in the first place. It is anti-woman, uterus-having people rhetoric. It was that I was a teenager who had been groomed with raging hormones and a brain that couldn't make long-term decisions in the heat of the moment. Someone who needed love, support, and bodily autonomy as we all deserve. Since then, I have become even more fierce in sharing my stories and using my voice. I have been known to stand on the sides of roads with signs, among other things. I've told this story in pieces many times, but never in this way, all put together and in the spotlight. I stand as the warning, the poster child, the smart one, the proof that yes, it can happen the first time to anyone, and that yes, you deserve the full gamut of human rights and supports no matter what decisions you make or the reasons why. I am the warrior my mother always wished for, as well as the song. I speak my word, and I stand up for those who cannot. I hope you will join me in this fight.